Hey everyone, welcome. We're not going to have a chairman today. So let's just we'll just go straight into it actually. We won't even do an alignment. We'll just go we'll start with Roger, and I know you shared before the call, but for everyone who's concerned about you, Rog, maybe you could just give us a quick summary of how your operation went and how you're feeling.
Yeah, okay. Well, the operation went okay, and so now I've got the pacemaker embedded in my just under the collarbone here, and hopefully it will keep the heart rate stable, and I won't be falling down because my heart's going too slow. So everything went okay, and I'm thankful for that. But I think a more pressing point is the way that this tyrannical government is allowed to charge £5,000 deposit for the regional mayoral elections. Absolutely scandalous.
Yes.
And you said that we ought to do something about it, Rachel. I mean, you talked about something like shadow balloting, which I didn't quite understand. So maybe you could tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I had a discussion with Lynn about it, and I was shocked when you found. Thank you for finding that out, Roger, because I thought it was £500, and that's how much Julie's fee was. And so when you got the info from the Electoral Commission, and then I researched it a bit, and actually for the Mayor of London, it's £10,000. Would you believe?
But that's where even £500 is too much. We should not need any deposit at all.
Absolutely. So they are deliberately making it prohibitive because not many people can just throw £5,000 at it without hope of getting it back. Because truly, the only candidates who could really be sure of getting it back are the cons and the labs, right? So they're pretty safe. They could make it 25 grand and they're bankrolled. So yes, the whole thing, the deeper we go into this political mire, the more scandalous it becomes. So what I was suggesting to Lynn, for me, oh, here she is. Hi, Lynn. We're just discussing the scandalous nature of the mayor, £5,000. I'm sure you've got things to say on it. I was just explaining what I was kind of proposing to do, which is I've been thinking about this a lot, and I am planning to do a video which with the title of something like why the new East Midlands mayor could really fuck up your life, right? And to just take people through the horrors of all of these mayors and what they've done, like you, Les, and the 225 million, and the nightmare for the people having to change their cars, and the scandal of the unlawfulness of what's going on. And also bear in mind the fact that all these councils, Derbyshire Council, 40 million in the red, Nottinghamshire Council, 60 million in the red, they're going to be desperate for ways to bring in new revenue streams because they can't squeeze council tax anymore because everyone's bloody, skint and defaulting. If you look at the accounts, like a Derbyshire County Council, there's a huge number of people defaulting. They just can't squeeze any more blood out of a stone. So how are they going to make the money? They're already in deficit. They're going to be looking at you, Les, and thinking, oh yeah, and I've now got the billions of pounds I need, or the millions of pounds I need to install all the infrastructure, and it's a cash cow. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, but it's unlawful for them, well, in fact, illegitimate for them to be taking money and continuing trading whilst they're insolvent. So
True.
how are they getting away with that?
True, absolutely. Anyway,
well, so technically they're not insolvent, apparently. Apparently they're still I mean, that's Nottinghamshire County, Nottingham City Council's line is they're not technically insolvent. They're cut back to the bare basics with services, and I know for a fact they are selling off property left, right and centre, because I've looked at buying them, and you know, just that they are basically selling everything. So yeah, and that's how they're not insolvent.
Yeah, because if you're a
Well,
going,
I think
if
the
you're a
reason
going
it's not
concern, Roger,
insolvent-
if you're a going concern and you can see your way to trade out of something, then you're not trading insolvently, and I think that's what you're saying, Lynn. But anyway, I
Yeah.
just wanted to complete on what I was saying about the shadow campaign. So what I was going to do was a video, like a promotional video, and exposing the scandal of the £5,000, and basically saying, inviting people to back me, and if I get the backing, then I will stand. But if I don't get the backing, for people to write across their ballot paper, like either none of the above or Rachel Elnaugh-Love, and make spoiled ballot papers.
Mm-hmm.
So they can still vote for me through spoiling their ballot paper.
Yeah, let's get you written across as Rachel Elnaugh-Love.
Yeah. So, you know, and so normally you don't get many spoiled ballot papers. Imagine if there was like thousands of spoiled ballot papers, you know. So
I mean, ideally the spoilt ballot papers win the vote. They actually, you have more of them spoilt ballot papers saying Rachel Elnaugh-Love than you do.
Yeah.
And this is where we need to inspire people to register to vote. So those people that aren't registered to vote, get them to vote so they can put that across their ballot paper.
But the thing is, a lot of people don't want to go on the electoral register because the first thing you get is a frickin' council tax bill.
Yeah, but then we know
we do anyway.
Now. Yeah.
It's a poll tax, isn't it?
You get a council tax bill anyway but I know what you mean. It brings you onto the radar, but it's,
yeah.
Actually most people are registered to vote. A lot of them don't know it because they haven't actually done it, but they are paying council tax, so they're registered to vote. They just haven't.
Well, you do need to put yourself. You do need to register on the electoral register, even if you're on their system, because you get the thing through, don't you?
Well, they make sure they make the system as dire as they can, and you have to keep sort of acknowledging it when they send things, or oh yes, that's me and whatever. But when you just need to inspire people that we can get Rachel Elnaugh-Love as our regional mayor, even if it's through default because of none of the above, but put it across the paper. Yeah.
So, but I in an ideal world, hopefully I'll be able to scrape together, because it's not, and it's not just the £5,000, is it? I mean, I copied Roger in, I wrote to Chris at the Electoral Commission asking for what that 5,000 includes, and also if there's any other hidden charges like a leaflet, and like if there's an extra contribution required for marketing, so we can get clarity that we're not going to be hit with some other, like, oh, you've got to pay another £10,000 to go in the official leaflet or some bullshit like that. So
I can't see that there's a legal basis for £5,000.
Well, they said it's
legal or lawful.
Written in law.
Sorry?
They said it's written in law, didn't they, to you, Roger?
Well, it's obviously not written in
Well,
law.
that's
I
right,
can't even
because
see that it's legislation.
Yeah, but they're saying that legislation is law, which it's not anyway. But so there must be some legislation which they've passed recently to increase the deposit to £5,000. But they don't tell us what law that is.
But also, I actually asked about leaflet delivery, and I was told by one of their staff, who was quite a high up member of staff, that there wasn't any. So I ordered 10,000 leaflets. And then within a week or so, when I couldn't cancel my leaflets, I was told that if I didn't pay the nearly 750 quid, all I'd get is 2 lines in the leaflet instead of 2 pages. And then when I said, well, you told me that there was no leaflet, she said, well, I didn't know. And it's like no real apology, no sort of acknowledgement even to give me discount on it. So I had to pay that on top of the £500. And why should we have to pay a deposit that I got 4.9% of the votes? If I'd have got 5%, I'd have got the deposit back. Why on earth can't we have people that don't get many votes on that ballot paper? And I know they say, oh, well, then so-and-so will be coming on trying to promote their own business locally or whatever. Well, so what?
Well, they've clearly shown that that's an illegitimate argument. That's not an argument anyway.
Yeah.
That's not the reason. They've just shown that 500 quid would deter them.
Yeah.
But they've put it to 5,000. That's to deter proper actual candidates. That's a different ball game altogether. So clearly, even their argument for 500 is null and void. It's all about deterring people from standing.
But also, I think it probably shows, Rachel, because you've been taken off that Wikipedia group, it shows how much we are actually standing and getting noticed.
Yeah, because there's a full campaign underway. It's been on television, GB News, Talk, it's all of these things, and they've only featured the mainstream candidates. That all of the independents have been, left out in the cold, and I certainly haven't been contacted. So, Wikipedia still doesn't reflect me. So it's a stitch up. It really is.
Yeah, and that's where we've just got to keep getting out there, and emphasise that there is £5,000 that to get Rachel actually onto that ballot paper properly, then we need that £5,000. But even if we don't get you on there properly, we will be putting your name on across that or on that ballot paper somewhere to show them that we are not happy with this system and it is not democratic. Yeah. And that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's more mileage with actually going down the shadow campaign. I wonder if there's more mileage to be had by actually saying, you know what, £5,000 is clearly going to exclude not just, it's not really about me. We can get the money together because we're great manifestors and everything. But it's about, this is going to exclude the people who really need somebody to stand and change the system for them. It's excluding those people. I mean, my builder who probably gets a couple of grand a month, how can he scrape together £5,000, especially when he has to pay tax on his salary? And especially
not only pay tax, he has to do
pay
all
£2,000 insurance for his kids' car insurance because they are.
No, but he has to do all his own admin. Being self-employed, there's a lot.
So how is he supposed to pay £5,000? He clearly it's to exclude people. That's the whole purpose of it. And maybe we should stand in solidarity with those and not actually pay our £5,000 and have a shadow campaign that says we're going to get everyone to spoil their ballot papers and make this vote null and void.
Now, what do you think, Simon, to that idea?
Just say looking something else. I mean, I think that the route to go down really is media developing. I mean, if it just hypothetically, if there were £5,000, if you had £5,000, would it just be thrown away to run for mayor of the region? Could that £5,000 be better allocated?
Exactly that. Exactly.
And I'm just thinking, I've been actually getting into Navarra media lately. They have some really fascinating interviews on there. And then it was on yesterday on UK Column. I didn't have a chance to read it all time, but they were talking about the legacy media. It's people's level of awareness. That's the problem. People are just so dumbed down. I don't even know what I'm aware of the London mayor, that kind of happened. I don't know when or why or what. Livingston, going back to that. And then all of a sudden they were interviewing the mayor of Birmingham and the mayor of Manchester with Andy Burnham. And I don't know about the rollout of the mayoral system or who initiated it or what it's all about. And if there was a mayor of this region, would I even bother to vote? Would I know what their remit is, what they're supposed to do? This is the problem, people's level of ignorance, and it's all by design.
Yeah.
And the way Richie Sunak, what's his name? The Prime Minister, what's his name? I forget.
Rishi Sunak.
The way he had a meltdown when Galloway won.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like got 300 people who've said they're ready to stand and will pay their own deposit. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
So I think that's the road I'm really interested in. Just why are people so disengaged, and what can we do to encourage people to take an interest?
But that's where I think George Galloway and what he's doing is very inspirational. Yeah.
Our adversaries control the media. People are just not educated.
Yeah, but that's the thing. There is a proliferation of alternative media. But
Which is why, You need a viral video, which is why I've been thinking how to make this video
Okay.
have the potential to be shared.
Yeah, well, I like that idea, Rachel. I like that idea.
Okay, well, that's a really good question, because we know you put it on YouTube, they'll take it down. Put it on Facebook, they'll take it down. So
They might do, they might not, but put it on TikTok and put it on Rumble and everything, and just keep plugging away at it. You know, you keep circulating it on Twitter and things so that they can keep finding the link on Rumble if they want to. You know, it is about just being very, very bloody belligerent and persistent, actually. But
well, maybe there's some way, Rachel, you could produce a video for the area, interviewing other people and asking them what they know. I mean, maybe you could go to the high street and just find out what the level of ignorance is and put that in the video and then put that out.
Yeah, that might be a follow-up one, but I just think there's just like it's just like a real like taking people through it really simply.
Start there. Start that, like,
yeah,
and then
she has her own channel with it. Rachel Speaks Out. She's got a following anyway, so
right.
that's quite a good way of doing it. But I think it's not even just about the mayor, is it? It's about getting people engaged and interested in their entire life, their life generally, taking some, because people feel so helpless and disengaged with everything, not just politics, but pretty much everything. They feel like they're sort of floundering around and they're all clutching this burning raft that is the government, and they just can't seem to engage with anything. And it is dumbed down, it is, we've discussed the sugar, caffeine, alcohol, television mind control that the government's had in for a long time. So yes, that's what you're against. So getting everyone to get the frontal lobe working and engage again is going to be a challenge. And Rachel looks like she's got a hand up for.
Oh no, I was just waving at Verity.
Oh,
She was behind you trying to catch our attention.
She's got a love t-shirt. She's got a love jumper on. She's got a little heart on.
Also, what they're doing is they're distracting people by the busy changing things in the benefit system and all stuff like that. Locally, we've got loads of Severn Trent work doing. That's they're even having meetings with local people to discuss what they're doing, and they're taking away one of the school fields to put this detention basin in. And so they've had to discuss that. And I'm sure all of this is to distract them from the coming election. And because they're so busy, just being able to feed themselves, just being able to afford to pay their rent or to live wherever they're living. And they are deliberately doing all this. And I think they're changing something in the benefit system, that they've got to reapply for this, that and the other. And I mean, the social care system isn't proper social care. It's not properly looking after families. And so they're doing all that as a background. So we need to engage them enough to realise, look, just register to vote and we can be there for you more than the current system is being. And the more we can help to realise, to empower them in that way, then hopefully they'll register to vote. And then even if they have to vote for none of the above, and Rachel Elnaugh for the regional mayor, then at least we'll have empowered them in that way.
Yeah, and I think we can talk about freedom as well. I mean, energy. People are probably not going to. People are a bit too. Struggling a bit too much to worry about their inalienable human rights, but talk about energy freedom, actually not having to pay for your energy, being freed from that, mortgage freedom, that sort of stuff. The government could help us with that. The government, nationalised state privatisation has been an absolute disaster for everybody except the few shareholders, pension funds, and the French who are getting all our profits to subsidise their own stuff. So it's been an absolute disaster. So just bringing in our own, just saying, what, this really hasn't worked. This is the people's things, it's people's stuff. It was stolen from us. We're going to take it back, and you're going to have free electricity and free gas
and water.
And think what you can do with that money. For a lot of people, that's a lot of money. That's the difference between sinking and swimming easily.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, it's the difference between private school and not, or home educating and not, or one person being able to stay at home with the kids and not. These are big lifestyle differences if you get rid of energy and water charges. And I don't see any problem with promising that. I don't see it was theirs to start with. They shouldn't be paying for it.
Well, to me, that's what we used to have, and that is what we need. And like, we need the clean water, the proper water, not just poison stuff that comes through the tap. And I think that's a good way, because I know in Mansfield, I mean, when it was a nationalised industry, the coal mining industry was just absolutely thriving. And the more we can help them to remember that, and perhaps talk to their grandparents and other people that were involved in that time and how much we were thriving, it might just instigate them into it. So yeah,
because people have been made to forget that we did thrive. We did, you know, they're made to forget it. I mean, a lot of our past is being made to forget. I see Sad Dick, or whatever his name is, in London, is renaming things like the tube station. Like, I mean, this is clearly just trying to wipe out history.
Renaming the tube stations.
Apparently so. Apparently so. Renaming tube stations. This is all about just getting people to forget their heritage, their roots. And it's, you know, we did thrive. The price of freedom is not failure and incompetence and ugliness and everything. That's absolute rubbish. Freedom is a high vibration. So is beauty. So is intelligence. So is good design. So is all these other things. They go hand in hand. You know, we don't have to say, oh, well, we're living in a free society and a free market economy, therefore we've got to put up with shit. It's total nonsense. It's absolute, complete, utter bollocks, you know. So I think, I mean, we're all independent, which is quite nice, because it means that we can all go off on these rants, and I can say,
I want
to.
Oh, she's gone again.
She's gone again. They want to say hello.
We want to see you.
Show your jumper.
Jumper, please.
This is one of my new jumpers.
Lovely.
So, yeah, she's just got a new funky jumper, haven't you?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think.
So with Mum. Mum's got this on.
I had to try mine on. Actually, I've still got the tag at the back. Looks like I've been shoplifting. I haven't. They've just been delivered. So I'm just trying it on. So,
yeah, so I was looking at whether to join the George Galloway party or not, Workers' Party. Well, I've looked into it as much as I want to at the moment. So, Lynn, I don't know if you knew the background of why I was even looking at it. Someone locally had contacted me on, I think it was Monday evening. When was the election? The same, yeah, anyway, whenever it was, I think it was Monday evening. And literally, as I was just about to go to bed, he contacted me, would I be willing to be a candidate in the coming up election once it's announced? And so I responded to him, and I know I've met up with this guy before, locally, just once, and so I said, yes, I am going to put myself forward as a candidate, whatever. So he said, well, would you be willing to put yourself forwards for a political party? So I responded to, it depends which political party and if it feels right to, otherwise I'll be independent. And so then he responded, well, what about the George Galloway party? And that was the first I've sort of really, because I don't watch mainstream, even heard about what was happening. So since then, I've literally been trying to research it. And the manifesto that he's got on the website, the Workers' Party, yeah, something like that it's called. And a lot of it I really agree with. I've watched a few of his interviews and things like that, and there's certain things that it doesn't really come to me to be me, but I know he's quite forthright and things like that. He does seem to be coming from the right place. I know that originally he was very trying to say we needed more strict lockdowns and things like that. But I think if he'd have been in that position, hopefully he might have realised quicker, or even before any lockdowns, that we wouldn't have needed them, because they were being applied by the powers that be in the background. And I know he's had jabs. I don't know what his opinions are now on any of all of this, but there's those things that if I was going to alliance with him, I would want a proper physical meeting with him. And now I've just decided, no, I'm going to be totally independent, because I feel what we're doing is much more valid and much more what we need. Yeah, Lynn.
And higher vibration.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't go with George Galloway. Although I congratulate him, and I'm very pleased that he broke the Conservative and Labour stronghold. He showed his true colours in disrespecting people's inalienable rights of free movement and of being able to have a family life and medical autonomy. He showed his complete disdain and his willingness to descend into tyranny in those lockdowns. A lot of people did. Richard Tice did, Farage did, and they were all. This is why I didn't. This is why I went with eventually with Freedom Alliance and had, you know, because none of the others, none of them, I now know Freedom Alliance and ADF, but everybody else was all on the narrative that we needed lockdowns and that we needed, in fact, they were calling for stricter ones, and, you know, stick the lot of them. They've shown their true colours, and they show that they don't respect our inalienable rights and they don't respect common law. Apart from buying into the bullshit, which just shows how gullible they are. So for me,
well, I would say everybody's gullible at any time, and we don't know what circumstances they were.
I know you go for Andrew Bridgen, but I struggle with that because you know, unless there's a true remorse there about having descended into that place of supporting lockdowns and supporting jabs and things, and actually being willing to impose those on other people, that's a real problem for me. I don't care what you do to yourself, but being willing to impose that on other people is a real problem for me.
Yeah, and I think I'm really glad that I met Andrew Bridgen physically myself, one-to-one, and I do believe that he has hopefully learned from that, and through that he's coming through. But I know in my life I've done things at times that now I think, oh, you know, I wouldn't have done that. Everybody will have done.
But I haven't imposed myself on other people, you know?
No, but Lynn, you don't know when you have, and you will have done at times without necessarily realising it.
Okay, I've never knowingly.
No,
I've never knowingly made somebody do something that.
No, you haven't knowingly, but you don't know what
how could
situation they were in. But that's why I'm going totally independent, and I'm much more for our liberation, opportunity, vitality, empowerment approach. And we are not trying to put anybody into any box. We are not trying to do that at all. And we're letting each person be their self, but be there for the people. So yes, Rachel, I'll let you.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention about the George Galloway thing, that when you watch that video where he said that he did swear the oath as well to the king. Now, he said he's a Republican, but I had to do it, you know, even though I didn't believe in it. Now, to me, that's another really serious thing, because an oath is it's not just a legal thing, it's a spiritually, when you swear an oath, it's super powerful spelling, should we put it like that? So the fact that he was prepared to do that, and not, because if I was asked to swear an oath and they asked me to read it out, my allegiance to the king, I'd just read it out, and instead of the king, I'd say the people.
But this is something that, you know, if I'd have got elected as the mayor of Mansfield, I'd started to realise that, well, you're going to have to be sworn in. And I'm like, right, what will I be able to do at that point?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
and this is what we need to challenge in the whole system.
So just to clarify, so to complete on that, George Galloway said that the reason why the Northern Ireland MPs don't sit in the House is because they've refused to sign the oath. Now, just imagine for 1 second that come the next general election, all 660 people elected all refuse to sign the oath. It would be the end of the House of Commons, because they'd all say, right, we're not going to gather there under those rules. We'll gather somewhere else, and we will just assert our right as the electives of the people, and you know the House of Commons will be empty.
Rachel, this is what we need, and
exactly.
You know, whenever people start talking about the king and things like that, I just respond with, why do you think Prince Andrew is still allowed to be completely free? You know, until still be allowed to be in public, even if he's not completely free, he's still allowed. He is not imprisoned for what he has done, and that is wrong.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh yeah, I know, see what you mean, Julie. But until we keep getting this message out there, We've just got to keep getting that message out there. But also when I saw, and that was a particular thing that, because I was thinking, should I be joining that party to be a candidate for them? But I knew I didn't know enough about it. But that was one of the big reasons that I thought I don't want to. Part of my reasoning behind it was also I'd listened to something else, and you know, because I was thinking, well, am I just wanting to do it so that if it's £5,000 for the Mansfield and District MP, that party will pay it? Well, that's not the right reason to join a party. And so, you know, it's just wrong. And then I did hear that he was alliancing with independent people as well. And if we can alliance in ways that will help to get more of us out there and heard, but without those compromising aspects, then that is fine. But I still would really want to meet up with him to have proper conversation, because I want to know where he is now, and you know, how does he feel about that he was trying to mandate and lock down quicker and all things like that.
There is one other thing as well, just to mention about the whole William Keat thing, because he talks a lot about the king and how the king is essential for common law, in the sense of, like, for example, the police or the military, they swear an oath to the king. And essentially the king is there to defend the rights of the people. And that's why the monarchy is actually quite important in terms of common law. So it's an interesting little thing that it would be quite good to get clarification on that from William Keat, because if that was I mean, obviously it's been corrupted, because Charles Windsor, should we call him, he's obviously shown his colours in being aligned to World Economic Forum, so that lacks credibility for me.
So do we, in fact, you know, I love the idea of just going, well, we'll meet elsewhere then, because you know, we're not swearing an allegiance. Or do we say, yes, so we'll absolutely swear allegiance to the king when you can find one that is actually a true king?
Yes, that's a good point.
That actually isn't guilty of treason, and
yes,
then it has sworn an oath to protect the people. That is a real oath.
Yes.
Do we demand a real king at that point, or do we say, well, we're going to meet elsewhere and sort it? Anyway,
this is very interesting, because it goes back to Charles I being beheaded for treason, for betraying the people, and closing down, because he closed down Parliament, didn't he, and the rights of the people. I think King Charles I, and he was beheaded for it, wasn't he?
Well, yeah, I mean, he was beheaded because he wouldn't. Cromwell didn't want to behead him at the time, but then he refused to accept that he was beaten and step aside. He was, you know, so refused to accept that he'd lost the people.
So is there a similar requirement as mayor, Rachel? Have you looked into that?
What, to swear an oath?
Yeah.
Well, as I say, if I went, you know, someone said, oh, we're going to swear you in today, right? I'd go, but I would swear my oath to the people.
Well, if it was that simple, George Galloway would have done something similar, presumably.
Well, I mean, they may well throw me out, but then that to me would be the next level of publicity. Is like
legal challenge, actually, lawful challenge, you know,
a lawful challenge, because I've been elected by the people to serve the people. So why would I swear an oath to serve someone else? I've been elected. Yeah. I would have a mandate to represent the people of East Midlands as their mayor. So, you know, that's who I would swear an oath to. My oath, it would be a pledge of allegiance to the people.
And I think after what's happened with George Galloway, I think that's a message we can get out there to him and others. Because, I mean, he did sort of do a bit of a discussion about why he did, not a thorough discussion, but that he really knew that if he didn't do that, he wouldn't be allowed in. And I think when he was first in Parliament, the Speaker didn't even acknowledge him, and certain things have happened since, and he's not even done his maiden speech yet. I don't know if he's due to do it today, but it's all early days of me understanding any of all of this. But also from what you said, that is the sort of thing that we can start bringing to the fore, that we do not need to, we are sovereign in ourselves, aren't we? And the
Yeah,
people.
well, we are.
Yeah.
But when all this started, I mean, way before the Normans, when our constitution was formed, before it was written down, if you like, the kings, while they tended to be from the ruling families, they weren't actually, it wasn't simply passed on to the eldest son. Sometimes it was, and sometimes it wasn't. There was decisions were made about who was most suitable. So I don't see why we can't just say, actually, we haven't got a suitable king. We need to have one, and let's find a suitable king, and then he'll swear an allegiance to the people. We'll swear an allegiance to him in his role of protecting the people. And it just brings up, at the moment we don't have the king in the spirit that the constitution was.
Yes.
When the constitution came about, we've got basically a puppet king who's just put into place with no consultation with anybody, not House of Lords, not the people, there's no judgment on suitability at all, which there needs to be, like there used to be when the constitution was alive and kicking and all good. So some competence level, some credibility, some leadership, but I don't know, maybe some strength of character, at least something non-treasonous.
We need a president.
At the very least,
we need a president. That's kind of what the American system is, isn't it? To have that
do
kind
we
of president. Okay, maybe not.
As long as it's not the one that they've got at the moment, supposedly.
Oh, when's he going to
But you
top
see,
off his perch? It must be time.
This is the thing, is that the key thing about it is the armed forces and the police don't dance to the tune of the government, they dance to the tune of the king, and that's the important separation of power. That's why it's important. But of course, as we know, the police are completely corrupt. They're not calling themselves constables, they're calling themselves officers, and they're completely breaching their oath of office the whole time. And they really don't like it when you ask them, are you acting under your oath? So that's why it's important to have that separate protection.
Yeah, I think we
people.
need, we can use the opportunity to take it right back to these basic questions. Who is the head of state and why?
And I also just complete. I also got a message through yesterday from someone who's quite into that sort of whole London freedom movement, the strong kind of like some strong people, and he was saying that the military are about to take control of the situation. And
I get that too. I've been getting that from Steve and AJ, Steve Forsyth and AJ, that the military has not. The military is not as under government control as the government likes us to think.
Yes.
None of them globally. I think they call it the Global Military Alliance. But basically, Donald Trump never did give up being commander-in-chief. He never did capitulate. He couldn't, because he would be guilty of treason if he did, because the elections were rigged. So there's a whole section of military acting not in our control. So we're not all alone. There are people on our side. It's just
I'm curious, just how radical are we, Trudy? I mean, do we believe in statism? Do we believe in a standing army?
Not really.
So why are we even talking about it?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the reason it's important,
don't we?
The reason it's important is because we're being attacked by all sides. We've got health, the way our brains work, media, our judiciary, everything that we have has been weaponized against us. But the thing is that actually we are using all strands that we can, like growing our own food, stand in the park, political parties, everything that we can do, we're doing from the grassroots up. And other strands like the military are taking the top down. So it's about, top down and bottom up. We've got to take the top structures down, and I think we probably do need the military to help us do that.
Yeah, but the military wouldn't make them, they're obviously not thinking about making themselves obsolete.
No, but the genuine military that join because they care about the people.
Yeah, a lot do.
They're realising what is wrong, and even some of the police are more genuine than others.
Yes.
They realise what is going wrong, and that is the ones that end up being homeless, because basically the powers that be realise that they are strong characters that are really there for the people, and so they want to make them homeless, basically for them to be killed off. But they are standing up and uniting with us and for us. And I know I've got various friends through the last 4 years that are ex-military or ex-police that are stepping up in those roles. And I'm so glad to have known of them doing that. I don't see them very often, but I know stuff is happening in the background. Yeah.
It is all turkeys voting for Christmas, isn't it? I mean, we are, if we get elected, we are turkeys voting for Christmas. We will be voting, we will be working to bring down the system that would be paying us. So they are as well, you know, we're not the only virtuous people, if you like, that are happy to see the system crumble in spite of losing an income from it. There are military people like that. There are teachers like that. You know,
But we do need to have peacekeepers to protect the people and their property. That's essentially what the police are. They are there to protect the people and their property, and the military are there to protect our national, you know, interests.
I hope that melts away personally, that the idea of borders needing protected becomes a stupid thing in the and historical anachronism, if you like. And also the
Well, it's a deterrent, isn't it? It's a deterrent, because if you,
from who though? It's from the same shit show that are causing the problems in the first place, isn't it? Get rid of them and you don't need a deterrent anymore, do you?
But it's a bit like the proper bobbies on the beat that used to be, and the genuine ones, and the genuine GPs and people. They knew the families. Everybody knew each other then, and we were much more neighbourly. And so, yes, we knew the people that had got problems that might kick off, but also we knew the best way to support them. And there's very few individuals that would need to be sort of taken away, separated from their local community. But there are those very few individuals, but mainly the communities used to know each other. But what they've done now is they've deliberately split our family and friends neighbourhoods up so that we haven't got that genuine support for each other. And this is something that I've always really been a key person in my local community, in whatever role I've been in. And I think that's what our movement is more about. But now that they've got these people going to the ridiculous hours that they have to work and everything, and not having stay-at-home parent, I won't say it needs to be the mum. I was glad I was a stay-at-home mum, but the children need, and then people will turn around and say that the education system isn't for teaching children how to live. Well, actually, if the parents are so busy working such long hours and things, and they've hardly got any proper time with their children, then the education system needs to be properly teaching the children how to develop as a strong family, strong friendships, and strong neighbourhoods. And that's what's not being allowed. But that's what we're going to get back to. But that's a step after the next step.
Yeah, I think, you know, police, what we call police or peacekeepers, I mean, it doesn't really have to be anything more than people taking it in turns to walk around the street. That's enough of a deterrent for most people. There aren't many people who are going to commit a crime when they're seen. So most of it is just about having people walking around. And if you've got some, I always think, why don't we do that? And it's because with this whole idea that, oh, well, you're vigilantes, and then another word that's been weaponized, you know, vigilantes, good. You're actually looking after your own neighborhood. And
I found out this week we've actually got a group of people that they do call themselves guardian angels, and they go out on a Friday and Saturday night, and they're in a certain place. So if anybody's struggling in whatever way, even if it's just to be able to get some travel home, they are there for the people. Now, I've not actually accessed them. I've not actually talked to them. I am connected through Facebook, which I didn't realise, but from what I've read about what they're doing, that is the sort of genuine person that is really there for the people, and to save them to have to go to any police or whatever. But I know of a policeman who about 20 years ago, he used to work, and he was actually asked to leave the police force because he wasn't booking enough people. And what he would do is he would find someone, perhaps on the town hall steps, might be quite drunk, and he'd go over, right, where do you live, youth? You know, right, it's in that direction. And he'd let them disappear off into the direction of their home. But he was told or asked to leave the police because he wasn't doing enough people. Now, why on earth do we need, if that person then went and caused some problems, then okay, he's not made the right decision on letting him just wander off home. But we don't need police to have to, like we don't need doctors to have to prescribe so many drugs and things. That's not what healthcare or security or anything is about. It's not about numbers. It's about what are we actually doing to help and support people properly. And that's why we're here together.
Isn't there a danger we're kind of spinning our wheels to a certain extent? I mean, just hypothetically, let's just fast forward and say the election's been and gone, the mayor thing's been and gone, and then there won't be any upcoming elections for a while. What would define us at that point? What would keep us going?
Well, we will be preparing them for 4 years' time. And then we've got even more, you know, if we're not in position, we've got even more time to prepare and keep getting this wording out there.
Parallel
No, I think we just pour all our energy into co-creating an alternative system.
Yeah.
Because if 4
which is
years
what I'm trying to
time,
do now, really. I don't, they're almost irrelevant to us. I mean, if we can pattern interrupt by winning them, that's fabulous. And but yeah, the actual real work is creating these systems from the bottom up, the new communities,
which we're all involved in. We're all it's like we've got two horses in the race. So whether we win these elections or whether we don't, we still keep going with
that is not the end. And like Chrysalis that we've got coming up for the, you know, that is happening for the cooperatives nationally, the two community groups that I work with, I'm there to support the community, and also what I learn about the community and what they're going through, and then I can give them little seeds to help them, and that's why I'm doing those roles that I'm doing. And that's what I think we're all doing.
And for my part, I've just dropped in this morning an escalation of a complaint against the Peak Park National Authority, because they are completely whitewashing and covering up what's happened. And this is another huge thing. The whole planning system is corrupt. And I had a conversation the other day, actually, on the podcast with Philly J. Lay, and I was saying, you know, why have planning laws? She said, oh, everyone would build everywhere. But actually, if you think about it, if you made planning, the only people who have to get planning are actual corporations. Whereas individuals who own land could, I mean, it is their right. If you own land, it is your right, provided you cause no harm, injury, or loss. So, provided you get permission from your neighbours and everyone affected around you for what you want to do, that's the only planning permission that you would need under common law to make sure that everyone that was affected by whatever you were planning was happy and had a reasonable, you engaged everyone, they had an opportunity to respond, and that whatever you created was not harming your immediate anyone around you.
And I know
that is it.
I know locally, the big companies, building developers, are not being inspected properly and haven't been historically. And yet I know years ago, when I was still with my husband, actually, so you're probably talking 30 years ago, every little bit of the extension that we were having done had to stop until it was inspected, stop till it was inspected. Then when I was selling that house, and the solicitor decided, because I'd not got that paperwork easily handy, that I'd got to get an insurance out, because I just said, well, contact the council. They've got all the thing. Oh, no, we don't want to open up a bag of worms. And it's like, I know we got permission. I know what painstaking thing we had to go through, but I also know from the building development that happened that I then went to live in, they'd not even had any checks done at all when that historic building was being developed for us to live in, and they hadn't even got the roof tiles overlapping. And so the locals have had to now pay to get the roof tiles done properly. And I know it's not just that one thing. Mansfield District Council has seriously let people down.
Well, it's everywhere, Julie. I mean, around West Bridgeford and around Melton, there isn't one road that you can go through where there isn't a massive housing estate going up. It's just completely circling, and it actually, if you look on the map, you can sort of see the 15-minute zoning happening. Just ridiculous all around it. Literally nobody voted for it. Literally nobody wanted that. They're losing their countryside. So all this stuff,
and including the sewage
we
system.
did not want. Nobody wanted it. We've been completely failed by the council, completely unprotected by the council from this
and I mean,
unwanted development.
Severn Trent being made not a national water company anymore. They now tell me, oh well, we've not been updating the sewage system for 50 years, and so that's why we've got all this, you know, stuff we're paying to have on each road in each estate that's narrowing the roads off. And apparently the sewage system plant isn't big enough for all the housing development. So I said, well, why haven't they just built another sewage development plant instead of taking all our roads away? But oh, don't know why we've not thought of doing that.
Well, the reason is because they've been paying out all of the money to shareholders and not reinvesting it. So there's been a huge transfer of wealth yet again from the people to the big corporations and the Vanguards and the BlackRocks. And it's money, just follow the money. That's what's behind all of this. And they're doing the same with energy. They're just like draining the lakes. So there's less and less water for the people. And it's a scandal. The transfer of wealth is scandalous. They're doing the same with food, trying to create scarcity around food.
And trying to centralize it, actually, trying to make one world prices like they have for oil. They're trying to
and they are still taking out our local mature trees. I don't understand how they're getting away with it. And I know of someone who's a surveyor, and he actually told me a few years ago, oh, well, what we do is before we even apply for planning permission, we go and take the trees out so that then no one can ask us to keep them. And it's like crazy, but we're allowing this to happen. But at least now I'm more aware of it, and so I can keep voicing, and this is what we need to keep doing. And they know me locally, and I'm sure they know of each of us locally, and we need to keep known and keep it out there and keep voicing.
And this is the thing, the big money, the big corporations, if they want to throw up a drive-through mall of Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, you know, throw money at it, they'll get permission. But if you're an individual and you just want to put an extension on your house, you know, it's like, so there's huge bias towards big corporations. And I'm sure there must be corruption, absolute corruption in giving permission to, you know, these corporations, and they're all funding the parties, aren't they? So
well, yes, there's a massive lobbying group. I can't remember what it's called now, but basically they pay £30,000 just to belong, and then that gives them access to the ministers and the planning. This is the development companies.
Well, it's like at the recent planning meeting that I went to. I went for Saving Berry Hill Park for the adverse stuff that I feel they're going to do. Yes, there's going to be some benefit because we'll finally get some toilets and a cafe hopefully open more often. But the planning application that went before, they allowed the building developer to go up and talk to the planning officers while they were having to have a separate meeting because they wanted to defer it and they needed to get the word in. When I went up, and all I said was, I don't know how you sleep at night, and I didn't say it aggressively. Oh, you can't come up here and talk to us. Well, you've allowed him to come up and talk to you. And so, of course, then I went away anyway. And the building developer did come away fairly shortly after. But he shouldn't have been allowed up there if I wasn't allowed up there.
I think the thing is, these authorities and the political, I think they're starting to be terrified of the people. Think of the Rishi Sunak's speech, and even Penny Mordaunt in the House of Commons where Andrew Bridgen's saying, why isn't this petition being heard? It's reached 100,000. Oh, I can't be responsible for that. I mean, and then Rishi Sunak saying, oh, local councils are being stormed and people, they're terrified of the people. They're absolutely terrified. And
They
I think
bloody
there's
should
enough
be,
of us
actually.
now who are actually questioning all of this bullshit. And like, you know, we're not going to be suppressed and shut up and silenced and
Yeah.
sidelined and swept under the carpet anymore.
Anyway, the fact is that a minor party won a by-election, a parliamentary one. An independent came second. You know, this is, imagine that across the country, and it doesn't really matter who they are, whether it's George Galloway with his mandate-loving principles or whatever, but it's just the fact that it's not the red and the blue.
Yeah.
Imagine that all across the country, and then imagine them refusing to swear an oath to the king.
Yeah.
The whole, you know, it's 2 steps, and it would have, and it's collapsed the system.
Yeah.
And we've
absolutely.
just, and then we've gone, actually, we'll hold our parliament somewhere else. You know, how hard is it? It's just like, well, we can't hold it here because they won't let us in because we won't swear an oath of allegiance. That's all right. Come to my house. Let's go to the village hall. No problem. There's plenty of places where
just
we can
vote all of that bullshit out.
Yeah.
All of those
Like,
people who are upholding
don't
those
need it.
rules.
We don't need it.
They're
Yeah,
They're
and
tiny
then-
little rooms anyway. They're crappy little rooms. They're not even suited for it. Have you been
Yeah.
in? They're
Just like
they can't hold 600 people.
And then
disband
we'll
the
have
whole
mini-
operation.
We'll have minimal national meetings. We'll have people that are there for the people, as if we call us politicians still, actually out in our communities, actually working for what our communities need to help
Yeah.
them to become that healthier, strong communities that are really needed. And okay, we might have occasional national meetings, but we don't need them in the Houses of Parliament.
Yeah, have them in the
We
We
Right,
centre.
shouldn't
that's all.
be legislating. We should not be bloody legislating. We shouldn't, you know, for every, I think, you know, at least for every piece that comes in now, 10 pieces should be thrown out. There's no way we should have 750,000 pieces of legislation, all great big wadges of paper like that. That's absolutely ridiculous. There's no way.
I
we
keep
can pass
saying
that off as
I'm
law.
really looking forward to the Houses of Parliament in Downing Street being just tourist attractions, and we'll have people, I suppose we could call them adults, but the children will even think, how on earth could adults behave like that, calling each other honourable and then behaving so immaturely and so nastily towards each other.
Yes.
And
You
why
know,
did they think people could obey all these rooms of rules? That's like clearly nonsensical, you know?
Yeah.
Clearly, even with AI, they're going to struggle to get through that lot and tell you what the rules are, you know?
in
Absolute
10 years'
nonsense.
time, the people will not believe how ridiculous
Totally.
we allowed our whole
think you're
system
right.
to be.
Yeah.
Is Roger okay? Because he was dropping off, I noticed. He looked a bit, he hadn't said something for a while, so is he okay?
Yeah, he's had an operation, so he probably is feeling a little bit on the dopey side.
Roger, are you still there? Are you with us, or are you waning?
He's gone off camera. But anyway, if I can just, you know, I put up the website that I've been saying I would for a while, the who can I vote for? That lists the upcoming elections. There's a very big raft of police commissioners. I wonder if it is worth looking at those. Nottinghamshire's there, Leicestershire's there. I think Derbyshire is also there. It might be worth looking at those.
How much does that cost to stand?
I haven't quite, that is something I need to look at. But you could seriously throw a spanner in the works by becoming a police commissioner. And at the moment, only say 1 or 2 people have declared their intention to stand for those. So if it's you and the Labour guy, you stand a pretty good chance of at least upsetting the apple cart. Because let's face it, their record on law and order is fucking shit. Really, really crap.
No, that's inspired me. That's well worth a punt, isn't it?
I think so. I think
I wonder how much it costs.
That
Is
one
it
could be a lot of fun.
£5,000 or £50,000 to stand on that one?
I don't think so, actually. I mean, it's not a very popular one. The turnout for that sort of thing is normally about 17% or something really pathetic. So I mean, they're seen as a bit of a noddy thing, but of course, all these positions they put in for a reason. They're to bring in the shitty, weffy globalist
I remember the police commissioners first coming in and someone locally telling me it was the first time he'd ever spoiled a ballot paper,
Oh, right.
but he still was determined he was going to vote.
Yeah.
But
Those elections are on the 2nd of May, so people will be going in for other elections, and so the chances are
So
it's not a solo election, is it? So the chances are people will vote for all of the elections running on that day, I would imagine.
well, I think that's why they do it on the same day. But also, if you think of the person I just mentioned, some people are just so, it's like a step too far. I'm not voting for that, so throw that one away and just put in the other ballot paper, or even write on it and spoil it. But hopefully, I think that's why they do it on the same day, so that supposedly more people will vote. But we can but hope, can't we?
And it may be the general election that day too.
Yeah,
it might well be. But anyway, we can't put our names down until April for that, as in register. But it is worth a look at, isn't it? It's worth worth seeing what we need for the deposit. And I think, get the crowdfunding out for all of it as well. Just, we would like a different. We are trying to fund something that's not a two-party system. If you would like to do that, or even if you'd like to stand yourself, send the money.
Cool.
But
Okay,
I think
it's 4 minutes past 2. I'm just thinking of
and I should be down with my daughter, and I was so late coming on, I thought I better.
Well, it's good to meet and have a nice rant. So
well, we're keeping going and we're not giving up, and we are going to keep going and preparing for 4 years' time even.
Simon, are you going to stand? Are you going to stand for MP? I've got your back.
When we first started this, I was very keen on the prospect of helping to contribute towards funding somebody. I think I'm too vulnerable. I mean, I've just got too much of a reputation. There's too many reasons why people wouldn't vote for me.
Don't be daft. That's it. No, you're so wrong. You're so wrong.
If I was going to stand, I'd want to win, and I'm just too easy to attack. I mean, if you Google it, I said the Queen lives in the most expensive council house in the country.
that's great.
Most people will be
you'll get
applauding that. And the
There
thing
was
is, every time they attack you, Simon, they're putting energy your way.
There's an email that went out
Attack
from
is
when I was on the
brilliant.
town council. We got an email asking us what we felt about. There was some sort of celebration, royal celebration coming up, and it was an internal email asking our opinion, and I sent it back saying, I don't want anything to do with celebrating the Queen, who, the parasite lives in the biggest council house in the country. And a Tory councillor who's also on the town council, also on the borough and the county council, leaked it. And this is when we had a local paper.
Brilliant.
I think that's wonderful. I think that's
Great.
absolute kudos. Absolute
Well
kudos.
done.
If you've been in the paper for saying that, that's absolutely brilliant.
The first time when I went to the first council meeting I ever went to, Chantry town council is like you go through the doors and there's 2 other doors and glass windows either side. And as I was walking up to my first council meeting, there was a town councillor, Peter Aldridge's name is. I could see him and he was going like this through the door. And I got through the door. I said, what's up? He said, why aren't you wearing a tie? I said, Peter, if I wanted to wear a tie, I'd have joined a bank. And then that got in the paper as well, because I looked at, there's a wall of all the members of the council and they all look white, middle class, and there's no diversity, no young people especially.
But this is why we need you there, Simon, so that you can be that pattern interrupt.
I honestly think you would stand you would put in a very strong appearance. I mean, yes, if you I know if you look at the law of probabilities, when you see the Tories and Labour and you just see them getting in time after time, I know that seems a rather hopeless thing, but I honestly, we've just seen in Rochdale an independent do better than Tories, Labour not even daring to stand. It's I think if ever there was a time to do it, it's now. And
well, I'm not saying no. I mean, I have to say,
right, I'll take that as a yes. Then well done, Simon.
I would, if there was another year. I mean, Julie, I don't know what you think about this. I would love to incorporate fundraising within Chrysalis as a project.
Well, definitely,
there's huge synergy there.
But let's focus on the here and now, and let's just go for it. I'm going to look into the police commissioner. I'm kind of thinking, oh yeah, actually, I'd love to, you know, put a few rockets up there, some police arses locally.
I quite fancy the uniform.
Oh, do you get a uniform?
If I'm a police commissioner, I can have a bloody uniform.
It's 500.
How does it
I'd need to find £500. Is there VAT on that?
Hey, we can get 500 quid. Do it.
Are
I've got
you
your
okay,
back.
Roger, by the way?
No, I just had a bit of problem with the battery, and I'm back now.
You're a
Okay.
cyborg.
Okay. So
Okay, so should we complete it there? Okay, lots of love. So I think next Thursday is the third Thursday of the month. I think it might be. Oh no, it might not be.
should we have a look? There's a
Yes, I've
calendar in
got-
his. I think it's the second. Hang on.
No, it's the 14th next week, so
21st is the third
Yeah.
Thursday. So
Oh
not
right,
next
okay. So
week.
that's so next week will be Thursday at 12 noon.
yeah.
And then the following week will be Thursday at 12 noon with the whole of the whoever wants to come. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, lots of love then. Have a great
Bye.
weekend.
Bye everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Take care of yourself.
Bye.